I sent the text to my friend Max, reading, "Dude, are you at school?" The bus was already a good 20 minutes late. It was late November, and it was cold. So damn cold. My eyes burned against the outside air, and each intake of breath was like swallowing razor blades. Everything was dim, tinted a dull blue, and all was eerily still, seemingly frozen in time. Mercury in the thermometers had settled to the bottom, refusing to budge. I could see my breath as it shimmered against the thin air, warping and climbing upwards in despair before vanishing. Even the trees, long dead with crooked empty limbs, appeared to be shaking against the cold. Frost and ice glinted sharply in the faded sunlight, clinging on and threatening to overtake the trees. The occasional glimmer of sunlight was nothing short of an ironic and cruel sight, as its warmth could not be felt. It seemed so distant, its hazy blue glow so utterly small and insignificant against the frozen vastness. The crunch of snow could be heard as I walked, a crisp, sharp sound cutting through what was otherwise dead silence, before disappearing into the oblivion with nothing to return an echo. I stopped for a minute. It seemed as if I was the only one in this world, a world of cold, of stillness, of nothingness. Neither the heat of a friend nor the joy of their company existed here. I was taking a note of all this with my eyes closed, so as to keep them from freezing, when I began to hear the crunching of snow. It was Sarah. I always met her here at the bus stop, or had been anyway, for the past 2 weeks. I was glad of it too. I used to hang out with my good friend Jenna, but she hadn't been showing up for the past week or so, and now it was just Sarah to keep me company. I opened my eyes slowly, wincing at the frosty wind. I could see Sarah walking towards me, pace slow and steady. Her balance wasn't affected in the slightest by the now increasing gusts of frigid air whipping snowflakes around like small needles. She wore a fuzzy wool purple hat that sat lazily atop her head. It didn't obscure her face at all, however, and I could still see her eyes of the purest blue you could imagine. They were only highlighted by her flushed red cheeks, no doubt due to the cold. She was absolutely beautiful, sweet and funny too, but for some reason I never really saw her with any friends. I suppose this is because she had just moved in, that and because all the guys I knew were too afraid to even talk to her. I guess that's why she stuck with me all the time. In fact, she seemed incredibly lonely when I wasn't with her. I suddenly snapped out of my thoughts to realise that I was staring at her. She saw me looking and gave a slight giggle with an exaggerated wave. I quickly blushed, and I only managed to choke out an awkward "hey" before turning away. I quickly whirled back around, however, as I realised that something was wrong. She was wearing nothing but a t-shirt, a pair of short shorts, and her backpack. I practically tripped over myself as I ran to her. "Sarah, what are you doing?" I cried. She stood in front of me, shivering and taking short staggered breaths. Her attire was certainly strange, but there was something else wrong too. Something was different about her. "Did you walk all the way here like this?" I asked, dumbfounded. She had said earlier that her house was a good 20-minute walk from the bus stop. "John is worrying about me," she cried, her face lighting up as her eyes widened and stared straight into mine. She paused for a minute before sheepishly continuing, "I thought maybe I could use your coat." Her voice trailed off as she looked down at the ground. I couldn't believe it. I had on several layers of jackets and I was still freezing. I couldn't even imagine how cold she must have been.